Welcome to BaseballGuys.com. I'm your host on Around the Horn, Ray Flowers. Oh boy, we got lots of excitement here today at BaseballGuys.com. We're going to start out with the curious case of Kris Medlen. Tommy John surgery at the end of 2010. Only 2 innings pitched last season as he came back from that injury. The Braves wary about the innings pitched total on his arm. Started him out in the bullpen this year, but they have transitioned him to starting rotation in the second half. And since they have made that decision, he has been the best starting pitcher in baseball. 0.59 ERA in the second half of the season, 0.85 whip. Now that ERA is almost a third of the next best man, Felix Hernandez, who leads the American League. Folks, again, 0.59 ERA since the All-Star break. 6.8 strikeout to walk ratio since the All-Star break. He has been absolutely phenomenal. Oh yeah, by the way, a strikeout an inning. He can't continue to be this good. No one can, okay? But he can be a very good, very impressive hurler for the month of September. Clearly setting himself up to be one of those true waiver wire additions that makes a massive difference in the fantasy baseball season. The question is, next year, where does he go? Say he finishes this year strongly. I think there's every reason to expect Kris Medlen to be a top 50, maybe top 40 hurler next season. Don't be drafting him to be an ace. We don't have near enough data to support that conclusion. But he's got a great skill set. He is rolling right now, and maybe you can ride him to a fantasy championship. Jacoby Ellsbury is a player many people were hoping to ride to a fantasy championship this season, and it just hasn't happened. Injuries, dreadful performance. It's been a horrible season for those people that took Ellsbury in the top 25 this season, and there was pretty much every league that occurred. Now, Ellsbury, on-base percentage is barely 300. He's hitting in the 260s. His slugging percentage is even 400. His OPS is under 700 this season. In 55 games, he's gone deep 2 times. I told you he wasn't going to repeat the 32 home runs he hit last season, especially with the issues with his shoulder. But on a per-game basis, I mean, this is bad, folks. 2 home runs in 55 games. So there's no average. There's no power. He's got to be stealing bases, right? He's not stealing bases either. He's got 11 steals in 55 games. 11. This is a player who, since the start of last season, 213 games, 213, has stolen 50 bases. Now, his previous 2 healthy seasons before last year, 2008 and 2009, he averaged 60 steals a season in under 150 games played. So there's no power, there's no average, he's not getting on base, he's not stealing bases. Jacoby Ellsbury right now, catastrophic failure for the Boston Red Sox. The exact opposite, the total flip side of Jacoby Ellsbury, the catastrophic success story of 2012 in the National League. How about my boy Chase Headley? And that's right, I'm claiming him as my boy because I've said for a couple of years now, this is a guy to pay close attention to. There's a guy to take late in draft. This is a guy that could really help you out. Now, did I think he was going to be this good? No, I didn't. I'll be honest with you about that. He's got 14 steals, which is terrific. It gives so much value in the fantasy game as a third baseman. He's hitting in the 280s. His on-base percentages and batting average are actually about the same as last year. So you say to yourself, okay, what's the main difference? The main difference is the phenomenal power output he's given this season. The last 2 years since the start, 15 home runs, 102 RBIs. 15-102. Now, there's some injuries, and he didn't play a full season, but 15-102 the last 2 years. This year, 24 home runs, 92 RBIs. He's second in the National League at the third base position in home runs, trailing only Pedro Alvarez. He leads all third basemen in the National League with those 92 RBIs. He's got 2 home runs, 9 RBIs his last 2 games. He is absolutely killing it. There seems to be no stopping him at this point. Just like Kris Medlen, who we discussed, Headley is someone that you could potentially ride to a championship this season. He has been phenomenal for the San Diego Padres. Marco Scutaro hasn't been phenomenal, but since the Giants picked him up, he has been damn good. He's hitting .322 with 23 RBIs and only 36 games played. So he's giving you a batting average. He's being a run producer. And that is pretty darn impressive for a guy that you probably have in your middle infield spot or you're hoping to get something out of in your NL-only league. Scutaro, again, has taken off since he's joined the Giants. Uncertain where he'll be next year, what his role will be next year, but wherever he ends up, he will be productive. He'll qualify at second base and shortstop next season. He's also played 15 games at third base with the injuries and the time they've given off to Pablo Sandoval here and there. 15 games at third base for Scutaro. If he brings third base eligibility to shortstop and second base, he'll be a fantastic option in league-specific setups next season because of that versatility. Chris Iannetta brings no versatility, but what he does bring is a good eye at the plate and a lot of power. He is absolutely rolling right now for the Angels. He's only got 154 bats in the season, so he could be on your waiver wire. But if you're looking for a catch or two, if you're looking for an offensive boost, Iannetta is a tremendous option right now. Last 10 games, hitting .459 with 2 home runs, 8 RBIs. He's batting over .310 in the second half of the season. His OPS in the second half of the season is .924. Now, this is a guy that it's not going to help you in the batting average category, but he's got 20 home run pop. He can take a walk. His on-base percentage for his career is nearly .360. Kris Iannetta rolling right now, and someone you should give serious consideration to adding as your second catcher in mixed leagues. And if you're in a league-specific setup, he is giving you a huge boost here down the stretch. A player that everyone expected to give them a huge boost this season, I'm having a tough time saying that for some reason, huge boost, there we go, was Wil Myers. And I told everyone, be very, very careful. Never doubted Myers' talent, never doubted his ability. I just didn't see where he would play with the Kansas City Royals. Well, we're now to the point where the roster has been expanded. It's September. We still haven't seen Wil Myers. Why is that? The club has made the decision to leave him in the minor leagues until his minor league club season is over. Now, his team is going to qualify for the playoffs, which means we may not see him at all in 2012 with the Royals. He might stay through sometime in September with that club down in the minor leagues. Jeff Francoeur, again, was the big crusher for Wil Myers' value. Now, the positive news with Myers, even if we don't see him right now, if we won't see him in 2012, because we're going to see him in 2013. I'd be shocked if he wasn't on the opening day roster and in that starting lineup. Minor League Player of the Year, according to Baseball America, they just announced this. Myers hitting .314 with 37 home runs, 109 RBIs, and 98 runs scored in like 130 games played. Let me check my notes. 134 games played. So, tremendous, tremendous season. Again, Baseball America's Minor League Player of the Year. He becomes just the 10th player, Wil Myers, since the last 50 years. 10 players in 50 years who have had 35 or more home runs in a minor league season while being less than 22 years of age. He's done everything that was expected of him. He will have a lot of success when he joins the Royals. I have no doubt about that. But it may not be in 2012. Hopefully you haven't been sitting on him, waiting for big-time contribution from him this season. And then finally, a player that people were expecting, just like Jacoby Ellsbury, a guy to lead them to fantasy greatness this year, a top 10 pick in every draft, Troy Tulowitzki. We know he's not going to get to those numbers that were expected from him. We know he's had multiple issues with injuries. We know he's got the groin situation he's dealing with now. Hasn't had a setback per se, but it's taken a little bit longer than there was the initial hope it might take him to get back out there, although this is better news than the fact that he could have been completely shut down, which was a possibility when he injured the groin as well. He's at the minor league level right now, and he's getting into some game action here really soon. The hope is that he'll be activated this weekend or early next week. Now, there's still a lot of time between now and then, but the Rockies, keeping their fingers crossed, they'll have their captain basically back in their lineup next week. Obviously, good news if you've been sitting on Tulowitzki on the disabled list. We know he can be tremendously hot for long periods of time. It's always possible, though not likely, that for the last 3 weeks of this season, Troy Tulowitzki can give a fantasy team a boost. I'm Ray Flowers, BaseballGuys.com. Thanks for joining me on Around the Horn. I will talk to you all again very soon.